We are meant to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird.
Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre.
Stories of the supernatural, the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasy, the mystery, the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginary plays, we urge you calmly, sincerely, to turn off your radio now.
Welcome back to The Horror. Thanks for joining me this Saturday. Our story this week comes from Escape, a series that aired over CBS stations from 1947 to 1954. Over 200 episodes were produced. Our story today is How Love Came to Professor Guildea. This one first aired February 22nd, 1948.
Worried about income tax? Wonder if spring will ever come? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape.
You were alone in your book-lined study, listening to the idiot gibberings of a parrot, and beside you, caressing you, is an invisible thing, a loathsome thing from which you must escape.
Escape, produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and carefully contrived to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight we escape to the West End of London, to a little house just off Hyde Park, where lived a man who didn't like people. Tonight we escape in the remarkable tale of Robert Hitchens, How Love Came to Professor Guildea.
It has been said that no night ever passes over London town that sees not some strange and curious event, some occurrence too incredible to bear repeating in the light of day. How horribly true are those words. It's been over a year now since the night I first met the amazing Professor Guildea. I had delivered a sermon at the rectory of St. Swithin in the East End and was passing through the foyer in departure when I was accosted brusquely by an odd little man, remarkably sharp-featured, his face adorned by a pointed black goatee.
Pardon me a moment, please. I believe you're Father Murchison?
Yes, that's right. But I don't think I've had the pleasure
Perhaps you've heard of me. My name's Guildea, Professor Guildea.
Guildea, why, yes, you're the famous psychologist.
Yes, psychologist, biologist, anthropologist, philosopher, and that takes care of that. Sir, I never attend religious services.
It appears you've done so tonight.
I came for one reason, to hear you. Find out why an otherwise normal colleague of mine thinks you're the most convincing speaker he's ever listened to.
And did you find out?
No. Your talk was intelligent, logical. Therefore, it could never convince anybody of anything.
Thank you. You're a direct man, Professor Guildea.
No time to be anything else. I'd like to have you dine with me, Father Murchison. Say a week from tonight, 7 o'clock. I live at 100 Hyde Park in the West End.
Can't we make it 2 weeks? I'm preaching at St. Saviour's that night, just round the corner from the park. And I'm afraid it'll have to be nearer 8:30 than 7. The service isn't over so early.
We can't even agree on a time for dinner. Very well, 8:30, 2 weeks. Good night, sir.
Perhaps if I had known then what but no matter. I kept the appointment, of course. And after an excellent dinner, we climbed the stairs to Guildea's study, a large book-lined room running the width of the house with windows at the end overlooking the park. In front of those windows stood the one incongruous thing in the room, a cage holding a large gray parrot. In fact, as I recall, it was the parrot that was responsible for my first becoming aware of what exact opposites Guildea and I really were. The same parrot that was responsible for so many other things that happened later.
Quiet, Napoleon, quiet. One day that infernal squawking of yours will drive me to wring your neck.
Somehow it surprises me, Guildea. I mean, you're keeping a pet.
I possess a parrot for the Murchison, that's all. Made a study of the imitative faculties of animals some months ago. Bought the bird then, never got rid of it.
I see.
Started the bad habit of scratching the fool thing's head. Loves it, you see. Well, in 5 minutes he'll be screaming for more of it. Why would it surprise you so much if I kept a pet?
Well, because I believe you're the most self-sufficient man I ever met.
More than that, actually. I detest affection, any display of sentimentality.
But you do feel the need of close human sympathy in your life.
None whatsoever. A reasonable amount of companionship, naturally, but that's all. Father Murchison, I'm one person who does not love his fellow men.
Nonetheless, some of your discoveries have been of great benefit to mankind.
Oh, entirely accidental.
I thought you'd be liking your coffee now, sir.
Oh, yes, Pitting. Put it there on the table, please.
Thank you, sir. Will there be anything else, sir?
No, that's all, Pitting.
Yes, sir.
An excellent servant there. I know nothing of Pitting's thoughts or feelings, nor he of mine. Perfect relationship.
And if a crisis occurred, if you needed to call on him as a friend...
It would take a considerable crisis.
What about the parrot? Surely you must regard it with some affection, otherwise you'd get rid of it.
Napoleon? Merely a specimen. The bird's as devoid of sentimentality as I am. Can only imitate whatever he sees and hears.
Guildea, have you ever been in love?
Neither with anyone in particular, nor with love itself. Being in love, as you put it, or having someone in love with me, would be the most monstrous and horrible situation I can possibly imagine.
All of a sudden, I feel a very great sense of pity.
For whom?
For you. Yet as different as we were, my life dedicated to all humanity, Guildea's life stripped of its own humanity, I called again at the house at Hyde Park many times, and we became friends. We talked away many evening hours in the months that followed, sitting by the book-covered table in the long study, the gray parrot chattering away in the background, with the lamplight barely reaching the farther corners. It was on such a night not long ago that the thing began. Guildea had seemed uncommonly nervous since dinner, and had spent much of the time pacing in front of the windows that faced the park.
Confound it, Murchison, I can't seem to relax tonight. I ever feel a completely unaccountable presentiment, a sense that something remarkable was about to happen.
Oh, yes. And usually it never did. Turned out to be the effect of too much coffee.
No, it's not that. Coffee doesn't bother me, nothing does.
Well, then suppose you stop pacing the floor and sit down. You're wearing me out.
Wearing me out. Wearing me out.
Have you noticed how well Napoleon's learned to imitate your voice?
Yes, and it's almost insulting at times.
The worst thing is feeling such a strong compulsion to do something which I know to be ridiculous.
Exactly what is it you're talking about, Guildea?
Foolish even to mention it. But I wonder if you'd pardon me for a few minutes.
Why, of course.
Help yourself to more coffee. I'll be right back.
Bye. Goodbye.
I walked over and stood stroking the feathers of the parrot through the bars of his cage. I'd grown rather fond of the ugly bird, but it always startled me to hear him mimic some phrase of mine or Guildea's. Napoleon, you're a true creature of the devil.
Creature devil, creature devil.
I happened to glance out the window toward the park across the street. The arc lamp at the corner threw a dim gleam across a bench set just inside the paling. And I was surprised to see Professor Guildea moving about the bench, peering under it, behind it, staring into the shadows nearby. He kept this up for some minutes, then crossed the street and came back toward the house. In a moment I heard him ascending the stairs.
Father Murchison, has anyone entered this room since I went out?
Why, no, you mean Pitting, of course, but he hasn't been in.
Oh, strange. Very strange.
I saw you across the street in the park. What were you doing?
I thought I saw something. Wondered what it was, that's all.
Did you find out?
No. What's wrong with that parrot? Never made a sound like that before.
What do you mean? He seems all right.
Napoleon, stop that!
What was it you thought you saw?
Nothing. As you said, it most likely it was the coffee, only I'm very much afraid that... No. In this day and age, it's impossible.
It was nearly a week later that I received a phone call in my quarters at the rectory. Father Murchison here.
This is Pitting, sir, Professor Guildea's man.
Oh, yes, Pitting. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. The master would greatly appreciate your calling at the house this evening, if it's convenient, sir.
Oh, anything wrong?
I couldn't say, sir.
But why didn't he phone himself? He isn't ill.
I think not. He suggested 8 o'clock, sir. May I tell him you'll come?
Yes. Yes, by all means. Tell him I'll be there at 8.
There's no use beating about the bush, Father Murchison. I am nervous. Of course I am. Plenty of reason for it.
You're working too hard.
Now I'm working too hard. The other night it was coffee. As a matter of fact, it's neither one. Be quiet, Napoleon.
Maybe you'd better tell me what is the matter, Guildea.
Do you feel the presence in this room of anyone beside the two of us?
Well, there's Napoleon, of course.
No, I don't mean the parrot. He senses it too, though.
Senses what?
When you were here last week, I left the house for a few minutes, you remember?
Yes.
I'd been watching someone sitting on that bench across in the park, a shadowy sort of figure. I had to find out what it was.
But you found nothing. You told me when you came back.
That's right. But I'd left the front door open. And when I came back in, I felt suddenly that someone or something had entered ahead of me.
Oh, now really, Guildea.
I knew also that they'd found their way to this room.
But I was here all the time. No one came in.
Father Murchison, whoever or whatever came into the house that night came into this room, is still here right now.
You, Guildea. A scientist.
Yes. Ridiculous, isn't it? But it's true. I'm only able to feel its presence. Napoleon can see it. Look at him now. Wouldn't you say he was watching something over there in that far corner of the room?
No, I'd say he was just being as foolish as a parrot usually is.
You, a skeptic?
About this, yes. You've been working too hard. You need a vacation.
I haven't told you the worst part of it. Would you say that I'm an attractive man?
Frankly, no. Oh, I suppose to a certain type of society woman.
No. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, then what are you talking about?
I don't know whether this intruder is a woman, man, child, animal, but whatever it is, it holds a vast affection for me.
What?
Can you imagine anything so utterly monstrous, horrible? Murchison, the thing is in love with me.
Love me! Love me! Ah!
I could not, would not accept Guildea's belief. And yet the alternative was even more frightful. For I could only decide that the long hours of study and lecturing had affected his mind, and brought him, in fact, to the verge of insanity. I persuaded him finally to get away for a while, to leave the house and forget his professional problems, take a short trip. I accompanied him to Victoria Station, saw him off on the boat train, and then, caught up in my duties, I had little time to consider the strange affair for nearly 10 days. Father Murchison here.
I hope I haven't disturbed you.
Professor Guildea, then you're back in London.
Oh, yes, I've been back for 3 days.
You should have called me. How was the trip?
Quite pleasant. I took passage on a Channel coaster. Sea air was wonderful.
You weren't troubled on the trip?
Oh, no, not at all. It waited here for me.
What?
Could you come over here tonight?
You mean now?
Yes, if you could. You see, I can prove it to you now.
Very well. I'll come right over. I stood there by the phone and shivered. The thing had become so real to him now that he felt he could go away and leave it, then come back and find it waiting for him.
That's why I didn't call you when I first came back. I wanted to be sure. So I've waited 3 days, and every day has been worse than the one before.
In what way? What do you mean?
I mean the thing was waiting for me here. Glad I was back, fawned all over me. became more insistently obnoxious all the time.
You mean you've seen this thing, heard it?
No, I haven't seen it, haven't heard it, but I know it's here. I can feel it, sense it. Try to put it in words and it becomes absurd.
If you'd like some unsolicited advice, call in a doctor. Have him look you over.
And what doctor in London knows any more about the human mind than I do?
I know, but when it's your own mind...
No, you're thinking of hysteria, hallucination. I know all the symptoms. It's not that simple. Anyway, I told you I'd prove it to you. Now, you'll notice I've thrown a cover over Napoleon's cage.
Yes, I've been wondering about it.
It's part of my proof. He's been here, you know, all the time I was gone, here in this room.
Yes, but I
want you to get behind those curtains with me. Then I'll reach out and pull the cloth off his cage. I don't want him to see us.
I don't know what you're hoping to prove, but... All right, come on.
Ready? I'll uncover him.
We crouched there behind the curtains watching the parrot. He protested a while at being so rudely disturbed by some unseen agency, then climbed about the cage with claws and beak, pecked at crumbs, and appeared entirely normal. After a time, he began to fix his attention on a spot across the room. There was nothing there.
Watch him. Look at him now.
In the parrot's mind, at least, someone or something was approaching the cage, and yet the room was empty. Whatever it was apparently had reached the cage now, and Napoleon welcomed it with friendly chortling. The hairs rose on the back of my neck. The bird was cooing and gurgling as it did when I or Guildea scratched the feathers on his head. I could almost fancy that I saw long, white, ghostly fingers reaching through the bars of the cage.
Watch him, and listen to him. He's talking to the thing, imitating it. See what you think.
The bird was moving about in the cage now, nodding his head in a very peculiar manner, uttering the most extraordinary sounds. I began to realize he was imitating the thing he saw standing by his cage. And then the full horror of it came over me. I tried to hide the thought from Guildea, but he'd already seen it in my eyes.
So you see it too. That's all I wanted to know, that I wasn't imagining it. No point in hiding there any longer. That was my proof.
But perhaps someone was here while you were gone.
I have questioned Pitting and the cook. No one has been here.
But it can't be. Such a thing can't be.
Father Murchison, it is.
But where? Where is it now? Can you tell me where it is?
Not exactly. Somewhere here in the room, not too far away. I can feel that. Napoleon, of course, can see it.
There is some rational explanation. There has to be.
You're whistling in the dark, Father. You recognize the same thing I did.
I know what you mean, of course.
Well, I can't stand much more of it. If it were only something I could fight, strike out at. I'm not a coward. But I can't see it, hear it. I can only feel it trying to touch me somehow, trying to get close to me, drooling with desire and affection, fondness for me. And I can't keep it away. It gets closer all the time.
Guildea, you've got to get hold of yourself.
Get hold of myself? You saw the way that parrot imitated this thing, those mannerisms, that gibberish. You know what it means as well as I do.
I saw it, but it can't possibly...
Can't you feel how hideous it is for me? I can't stop it. The thing makes love to me, caresses me. And whatever it is, it has no mind. You saw that. That thing is a slobbering idiot.
I walked home at a late hour, trying desperately to think of some reasonable answer to the whole strange affair. I could not accept Guildea's explanation of the actions of the parrot, though the bird had produced an extraordinary illusion of an invisible presence in that room. In a day gone by, perhaps I might have been called in to deal with an evil spirit. I thought of retribution. Guildea had always borne an unnatural distaste for human love. Was he now being forced to endure the unnatural love of a monstrous being as punishment? I cast such thoughts away from me. Yet I could not quite accept the only other reasonable solution, that my friend was insane. It was very late when I fell asleep. The following evening, I preached at Warwick Chapel and returned to my quarters about 9. I found that Pitting had called a short time before and left a rather puzzling message. Implored that you come to Hyde Park at once. Otherwise, I cannot answer for the consequences. But what is it you're trying to say, Pitting? He's not himself. In what way is he not himself?
I can only suggest, sir, that you talk to him. Here we are.
Yes, come in.
I'll leave you now, sir.
Oh, Murchison, come in.
Guildea, what in the name of heaven is wrong? Pitting said that you'd been upset,
Pitting,
but
an inhuman machine.
What happened? What did he do?
Nothing. That's just it. Nothing.
But I don't know.
Oh, you warned me about it once, said I'd meet a crisis, need him as a friend, and he wouldn't be there. Well, it happened.
Look here. I'm going to call a doctor. I've never seen you in a state like this before.
No, I don't need a doctor. I'm all right now. For a little while anyway. At least I think I am.
Then what was it? What happened?
That thing touched me. Really touched me. I mean, for the first time, it's only been trying to before. The only way I can put it, it rubbed itself against my soul. Oh, it was horrible.
Now, Guildea, you've got...
Don't tell me to get hold of myself. I know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. But if you'd felt it for yourself, you'd know what I mean. It was disgusting, filthy. If it had lasted one more minute, I know I should have gone screaming mad.
But you don't feel it now?
No, not now. I lost my head, I guess. I struck out with my fists, I tore at myself, screamed for help. Pitting came and thought I was drunk. But I could feel it touching me, sickening, soft and tender, inside of me.
But it left you then? You forced it away?
Yes, but it's still in this room, somewhere. But it hasn't tried to touch me again.
Well, that settles it. Guildea, you're leaving here tonight. It didn't follow you when you took that trip before. It stayed here. That's one way you can be free of it.
Then, you believe in the thing, too. Believe it's real.
It's real for you, and that's enough. Now, if I remember it, you're giving a lecture at Oxford the last of the week. You're going on up there now. I'll help you pack.
Well, I could do that. I could stay at the Grosvenor tonight and take a train in the morning. It's right near the station.
And it's all agreed. I'll
Wait. Look at Napoleon. It's standing there by his cage. He's talking to it, imitating it. Can you imagine what that thing must look like?
Never mind. Let me help you start packing.
But I didn't tell you what it really did this evening. What came the closest to driving me insane.
It doesn't matter.
The thing kissed me, Murchison. But not from the outside. What? I could feel it. Warm and wet, kissing my lips from the inside.
Guildea stayed at the hotel that night. Caught the train out to Oxford the next morning. 4 days later, I received a wire from him. Am still feeling a bit shaky, but everything else is all right. No sign of any visitor. Why don't you try to come up for the lecture Friday night, and please get rid of Napoleon for me. Signed, Guildea. On sudden impulse, I decided to accept his invitation. My train was late, and I arrived at Oxford with only time enough to go directly to the seminar. I slid into my seat just as Guildea was introduced and began his talk. He was pale and perhaps a bit drawn, but seemed otherwise composed and in control of himself. As I sat there, my mind wandered away from his talk, seeking some solution for the horrible problem which I regarded as being as much my own as Guildea's. I decided I would try to persuade him to sell the house in Hyde Park Place, since his strange fixation seemed to be bound up with it, and try to find lodgings elsewhere. Some 10 minutes passed when suddenly I noticed Guildea was becoming very nervous. He faltered in his talk. He seemed to be confused. He stood there on the platform, deathly pale, his hands out as though pushing something away from him. I knew what was wrong. Pardon me. Pardon me, please. Could I get through? Pardon me. Let me get to him, please. I'm his friend. Guildea. Guildea, can you hear me?
Father Murchison?
Yes. Everything's all right.
It came here, found me out. It rubbed up against me on the platform. It's no use. Take me back to London.
We arrived back in London late the next afternoon. Guildea was a broken old man. He shivered continually, trembled as though shaken by a chill. He claimed to sense the awful presence of that thing always nearby us, accompanying us, and he was constantly terror-stricken lest it might try to touch him again. I stayed with him in the house in Hyde Park, and as night drew on, we sat in the long, book-filled study on the second floor. Pitting brought coffee to us, and then withdrew. We found little to talk about, and the silence of the room seemed doubly oppressive without the familiar chatter of the parrot in the background.
What did you do with him, Murchison? Napoleon, I mean.
I boarded him with a pet shop in Shaftesbury Avenue. I thought you might want him back again after you'd reconsidered.
No, I won't want him back. You still can feel its presence, can't you?
No, Guildea, I'm afraid I can't.
I wish to heaven I couldn't. It's been here with us now, you know.
Now, please.
It doesn't matter. It's no use. I can't fight it any longer. There's no way to fight it.
Perhaps that may be the answer. To stop fighting it. You said yourself that you felt it was fond of you, meant you no harm. Then why not stop fighting? Try to return its fondness, its love, if you will.
You don't know what you're asking. Even the thought of it sickens me. Fondness, love for that thing.
Perhaps it may be the only way out.
Then there's no way out. I tell you, Murchison, I've only one feeling for that creature, and that's hatred. Hatred. Disgust and hatred.
Please, try to be calm.
Wait.
What is it?
Perhaps that's it. Listen! Whatever you are, beast or devil, I hate you, do you hear? I hate you! Murchison, that's doing it. It's recoiling, withdrawing, I can feel it.
Guildea, please.
I hate you! I hate you! Murchison, it wants to leave. It's beginning to hate me, too, but it wants to leave now. Open the door. Go downstairs and open the front door. Open the front door and let it out.
All right, Guildea, if you'll feel better about it.
It wants to take me along, but I know how to fight it now. Go, Murchison, hurry! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!
I ran down the stairs and threw open the front door. I stood there, breathing in the night air. It was clear and cold, and the stars hung overhead. I looked across to the park and saw the glow from the street lamp falling on the empty bench directly opposite. And at that moment came a sound that froze my blood with horror. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to move. Seconds passed, perhaps minutes, I don't know. I don't know how long I stood there. I glanced across at the empty bench, and for one moment thought I saw a shadow sitting on it. A vague shadow as Guildea saw it one night weeks before. And then the bench was empty, and I heard Pitting running down the stairs.
Come quickly. Professor Guildea, it was his heart, I think.
Yes. Yes, I believe it was his heart.
But Father Murchison, he's lying up there, sir. He's dead.
Dead? Dead, Pitting? I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and tonight brought you How Love Came to Professor Guildea by Robert Hitchens, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, with Louis Van Rooten as Professor Guildea, Parley Bear as Father Murchison, Harry Bartell as Pitting, and Paul Frees as the Parrot. Music is conceived and conducted by Cy Fuhrer. Next week...
When you're tired out from doing nothing all weekend, when Blue Monday stares you in the face, next week at this time, when your problems just seem too much for you, we offer you Escape.
Next week, we bring you another exciting story of high adventure. Good night, then, until the same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's the horror for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. You can find more from Escape at relicradio.com. Alongside past episodes of The Horror, thousands of other old-time radio episodes, our Shoutcast stream, anything else that might be happening. If you'd like to help support this and all of the shows, you can donate through the website or visit donate.relicradio.com. Your support makes all of this possible. Can't do it without you. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. Talk to you again next Saturday with another episode of The Horror.
Strange Tales.
RelicRadio.com presents tales of the strange and bizarre, the weird and the wicked. Stories not necessarily of the supernatural, but of the unnatural. Join us now for Strange Tales, featuring radio drama at its most mysterious and unusual. Welcome back to Strange Tales. This week we're going to hear from the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, series produced between 1974 and 1982, 1,399 episodes. Originally aired 7 days a week before being reduced to 5. Lots to listen to. Our story today is from June 16th, 1978. It's titled The Unholy Miracle.
CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. All of us listening are part of the age of science. The wonders that have been wrought in this century are truly beyond belief. But there is a price we have to pay for all the benefits science has brought us. Every wonder drug has its side effects, sometimes more catastrophic to the individual than the benefit. But what miracle can create life and, at the same time, destroy it as we know it? This is the terrifying tale I bring to you.
Pop? Mom, what is it? I never saw you
Susan, this is very difficult to tell you, but...
No, Harry, no. Not now.
Sarah, she's got to know.
No, what? What's going on around here? Mom? Mom, it's right by you. Why? Why don't you answer the phone?
Don't, Sarah. Susan, honey, no one is going to answer that call.
Our mystery drama, The Unholy Miracle, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Mandel Kramer and Barbara Somers.
It is sponsored in part by Sign-Off, the sinus medicines. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
Whatever kind of shirt you're into, get into an Arrow.
Hey, Jim, that's a fantastic wool shirt.
Oh, thanks. It's an Arrow.
An Arrow?
Whatever kind of shirt you want, Arrow's got it.
I love that turtleneck Hank's wearing. I bought it for him. It's an Arrow.
Whatever kind of shirt you're into, get into an Arrow.
When it comes to shirts, things are changing, but men are still changing into Arrow. Arrow gives you every style and all the confidence you expect from an Arrow.
That shirt looks great with your suit.
Sure, it's an Arrow.
Whatever kind of shirt you're into, get into an Arrow. Whatever kind of shirt you want, Arrow's got it.
Arrow makes all kinds of shirts for all kinds of men. That's why we're known as America's shirt maker.
Clone. The word is not so new, yet recently it has grabbed the headlines. Clone. By definition, a group of organisms derived from a single individual by various types of asexual reproduction. An older and more established word might be helpful as you follow this strange story. Parthenogenesis. Development of an egg without fertilization. Is it feasible that right here, right now, in our times, an age-old miracle could happen?
Hello?
Is this the home of Mr. and Mrs. Kemp?
That's right. This is Mrs. Kemp speaking.
I was wondering if I might talk, please, to your daughter.
Susan. She's not home at the minute. Can I take a message?
I don't believe so. I will want to talk to her, personally. Could I leave a number where she might call me? The number is 555-4446.
Well, can't I tell her who's calling?
The name would mean nothing. I will be the only person to answer the phone. It is urgent that she make the call.
Just a minute. Hello? Hello?
Hi, darling. I'm home. I think I got everything except the parsley. Now, why would they be out of parsley?
I don't know, Harry.
Who's on the phone?
What? I don't know.
Hey, wait a minute, sir. What's the matter? Let me put these groceries down. Now, what's the matter? What's got you going, sir?
I don't know. Oh, Harry, hold me. I'm scared.
Scared? Sarah, darling, what on earth do you have to be scared of?
I'm not scared for me. It's Susan.
Well, I can't think of a thing in the world that ought to worry us about our daughter.
Can't you? Oh, it's all my fault, Harry. You were right all those years ago. I should have paid more attention to you. But I was just so desperate to have my baby.
Is it something to do with the adoption?
I have to say it again. I don't know. But I'm afraid so. Yes.
You better tell me about the phone call.
It was a woman. A foreign woman. She had some kind of an accent. She left a number for Susan to call. All she said was that it was urgent.
Well, you don't think it could possibly be...
Yes, I do. It finally caught up with us. She had an accent. I'm almost sure it was Russian.
All right, Sarah. Suppose it has caught up with us finally. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
19 years ago, we decided to take this risk. Well, it's different now. This time, Susan has her own rights.
If we tell her...
We have to. The woman's going to call again. The truth is going to have to come out. Look, darling, you're just not thinking straight. If it's a crank call, okay, but suppose it is genuine. That it's Susan's real mother.
Oh, well, how could it be? After 19 years. How did she find us?
Sue's picture's been in the paper because of being elected homecoming queen at college.
But Harry, how could you recognize her after all these years?
The best way to find out would be to call her back. You said she left a number.
It's Susan she wants to talk to.
What about?
I don't think she'd tell us. It's what she might want to tell Susan that worries me more.
Honey, let's sit down so we can talk this out.
All right, Harry. Oh, we should have told her long ago. Why were we such cowards?
Because we loved her too much.
We pretended she was our own flesh and blood. Now God is punishing us for that. We should have told her the truth.
When? At 10 months old?
Later. When she was old enough to understand. We've given Susan as much as any parents could. You have, anyway.
So have you. I don't think we have anything to reproach ourselves with there. That Susan will have any complaints about us, except that we never told her the whole truth. That she wasn't ours. Look, Sarah, we've made a terrible mistake. I hope it doesn't come back to haunt us. Oh, worse still, Susan. I think I'd better call that woman.
What?
Just to head her off, to stop her.
Stop her from what?
That's what I don't know. What's that number, Sarah?
I don't think you should call her.
I have to, before I do something that we should have done long ago.
Harry!
Look, I'll put it another way. If Susan has to know the truth, it had better be from us than from someone else, no matter who she is. And if one phone call could mean that we don't have to open up, then I'm all in favor of making it.
All right, Harry. If you're sure. Here's the number.
All right, supposing we admit that you are her real mother, what earthly purpose can be served for you to turn up now?
That is between me and my child.
You're talking about a child that you abandoned nearly 20 years ago.
There were reasons then why I had no choice.
Look, I am not unsympathetic, but Susan is 20 years old now. Why do you have to declare yourself now?
There are many reasons why.
What purpose will be served in telling our daughter that she is not our daughter?
I don't think you quite understand about Susan, as you call her. I have to let her know it is a necessity that she is not a normal girl. She is something very special.
Oh, she's very special, all right. I'm with you that far. But to say Susan is not normal is just ludicrous. Nobody could be more natural and normal than Susan.
I am afraid I have to disagree with you. My daughter is something quite unique. I demand that you have her call me.
And supposing I refuse, whoever you are.
Then I will reach her by other means. Because I want her to be able to take advantage of her birthright.
Her birthright? Who is she, the daughter of an emperor, a king? What? Who are you?
My name is Natasha Baronchev. I was married to Dr. Nikita Baronchev. The name may mean little to you, but I promise you, once I am reunited with my daughter, it will be a name known throughout the whole world. I have nothing more to say. Have my daughter call, or I shall make arrangements to contact her myself.
What is it, Harry?
She hung up on me.
Do you think it's Susan's real mother?
Sarah, I'm afraid it may be. There's just no way we're going to be able to keep this from Sue. If anyone tells her the truth, it had better be us first.
Hey, Mom! I'm home!
Oh, no. That's Susan now.
We might as well bite the bullet now, Sarah.
Hey, anybody home yet? Dad?
I'm here in the living room, Susan. Mom's here, too.
Oh, great. I got some real super news for you two.
Well, that's nice, baby. What?
No reaction from you, Papa?
Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to react to yet.
How about being the father of the bride?
Susan, he didn't. Bob Randolph?
That's right. Just cast your eyes on this if you don't think he's serious.
Wow. Hey, that diamond's got to be 2 or 3 carats.
It was his mother's engagement ring.
Oh, darling, how wonderful. Of all the ones around, he was my pick.
That's the way it turned out for me, too.
Well, he had my vote. I mean, I don't dig his family much, but I guess I could be house-trained.
Oh, you can't blame them. They're just too used to money to know much about living.
Do his parents know about this yet?
Are you kidding? It's going to take a little time and a heck of a lot of persuasion to convince the Randolphs I'm good enough. Bob will handle that.
They're awfully rich. And you know society. Have you actually met them?
Oh, sure. Well, not as a prospective daughter-in-law. Don't kid yourself. I know they'll look me over with a high-powered microscope. Okay, so they won't find any blue blood. Or maybe all that much to recommend me. But thanks to you two darlings, they won't find out anything they can wash me out on. Hey, what'd I do? Knock you out with the news? I thought you'd have seen it coming.
Well, maybe we did, honey. It's just... there's some other news floating around.
Oh, can it wait for my big celebration?
I don't think it can, Sue.
What's the matter, Dad? I never saw you so... And Mom? For crying out loud, what is it?
Honey, this is very difficult, but...
No, Harry, no.
Sarah,
not now.
Sarah.
There isn't anything that has to be settled tonight. Let's wait for tomorrow before...
What's going on around here? Mom, it's right next to you. Why don't you answer the phone?
Of course, the phone will have to be answered. But how serious is it when all is said and done? These are well-balanced people, and the secret that Susan is adopted and not their real child is a difficult subject to handle, but not insuperable. Except that Susan apparently is a special child, something appallingly extraordinary, unique beyond belief. I shall return shortly with Act 2. The telephone, the hidden tyrant that rules our lives. The sound of its bell can spell disaster or success, birth or death, good news or bad news. Every time we answer, it's an adventure. Except the expected call, for good or for evil, and when the expected news is bad, how strong the temptation is to use our only strength against it, not to answer.
What goes on here? Look, if no one wants to answer it, I will.
No, Sue. No one's going to answer that.
Daddy, what's got into you two? That could be Bob. He said he might call.
Well, I'll check on it. Hello?
This is Natasha Baronchev. Has my daughter returned?
Not yet. I'll have her call you. It wasn't Bob.
But it was someone for me, wasn't it?
Yes.
Then why didn't you put me on?
Because I have to talk to you first.
Oh, I know that tone of voice. That's old heavy father speaking. What am I in Dutch for?
You're not the one in Dutch, Susan. It's us.
Gee, Mom, Papa, what is it? Something's wrong. Real bad. Is it one of you? Oh, you're not sick. Oh, please don't let it be that.
No. Nothing like that.
Sit down with us, darling.
Sure. Oh, gosh, please don't look so unhappy. It can't be anything so bad as long as you two are all right.
Harry, you want to tell her, or shall I?
Maybe you'd better if you feel up to it.
I don't. But I will. Susan, darling, you are not our child, Susan.
What?
We adopted you, Sue, when you were 10 months old.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. All these years,
It's the truth, baby. Harry and I, we always wanted a child, but the Lord didn't seem to feel we should have one. I tried and tried, but I never could carry one full term. And then Harry had to go away to war. And, he stayed with the army afterwards, and I went to Germany and some of the other places with him. And then there was Korea, and finally we were home again, and then I was too old. What chance I had, if ever, was gone. And I still wanted a baby. I wanted to...
So did I, Sue. But the way I was kept moving around, there was just no chance to adopt. Then, suddenly, there I was, out of the service, and we were home and settled, and I had a new job and security, and we began to try again.
We thought we might get a Korean baby, but that fell through.
And I had a friend who put me in touch with a doctor who knew that there was a baby, a Russian baby whose mother had been able to escape, but whose father had been imprisoned. And she had no resources to care for you. She was desperate for money, so she wanted to have you adopted.
And that was me?
That was you.
How old was I?
10 months.
So I wasn't speaking Russian yet. You did say I was Russian?
That's what we were told.
You mean you didn't know anything at all about me, except I was a baby?
That's all we ever wanted.
Oh, Susan. Susan, can you ever forgive us?
For what?
Well, for not telling you when you needed to know. We thought and thought about it and planned to do it so often. But then, somehow at the last moment, we just never got around to it.
I'm just knocked off my pins for the moment. Just answer me one question. It never came up before, so why does it have to now?
The phone call before, remember?
That's what the whole hang-up was about. Hey, wait a minute. You don't mean my real mother turned up?
We don't know for certain that she has.
Oh, then why did you have to tell me?
Because this woman insists on talking to you. Now, we have no idea about what, but we had to prepare you. Didn't we, Sue?
I guess so. Oh, of course you did. And, Mom, it's just a little hard to adjust to, but, there's one thing I want to tell you.
What, baby?
It'll never make any difference to me. It's just something you told me. But honestly, it doesn't mean anything. I'll still be as much a part of you, or a part of both of you, as though I... Oh, you're still my Mom and Pop. Nothing can change that.
Oh, my darling. My darling.
We don't have to tell you that goes both ways.
I love you. I love you both. And don't you ever kid yourself that's going to change. Now, what do I have to do about this other thing?
You mean the woman on the phone?
Yes.
She left a number where you could call her.
What do you think? Should I?
Well, maybe, since we have everything cleared away now, maybe you'd better.
But why? I don't even know her. I'd be embarrassed to talk to her, and what could it change? 19 years ago, she walked out on me, got rid of me. What do I owe her? And what could she want from me?
I don't know. Still, it might be better if you phoned.
But what could she do? It's not a legal thing, is it?
I don't see how it could be, but she did say that it was something urgent.
Susan, I talked to this lady, and I think you should see her, or at least talk to her on the phone.
I don't want to have anything to do with her. She sure didn't with me for all this time.
Well, I still think we should talk to her, or you.
And no, I don't want to have anything to do with her.
Having talked with this Madame Baronchev, I don't think that it's altogether your choice, Sue, whether you see her, because one way or another she's determined that you're going to meet.
Okay. Give me the number so I can call her.
Here, it's written on this pad.
Thanks, Mom. Well, here I go, head first. Death or glory? Hey, wait a minute. Where do I have to see her?
Wherever you want.
Could I ask her to come here?
So why not?
I wish you would if she'll come.
Maybe whatever it is, can just be done over the phone. So I hope, anyway.
Hello?
Mrs. Baronchev?
Yes.
This is Susan Kemp speaking.
Oh, my darling, my baby, my own, my Katerina.
Look, Madam Baronchev, you wanted me to call you.
I want you to call me what I am, Babushka. I am your mother.
That's a little difficult to believe. Where have you been all these years?
Oh, but that is what I have to tell you. oh, so much to tell you, my little one. And what a great future we are to have, you and I. You will come and see me at once. No, I must talk to you.
Couldn't we just do it on the phone?
Not possible. First, because you have to see me to know that I am your mother.
You mean you have proof?
I have the best proof in the world.
What?
You will see.
All right. But you'll have to come here, to my house.
Very well. I know the address. I will be there within 15 minutes.
Madam Burham.
Something wrong, Susan?
She hung up. Is she coming here?
Yes. She'll be here in 15 minutes, she said.
She said she has proof? Proof that she's your real mother?
Yes.
What proof?
She said I would see for myself. Mom, Pop, I'm scared. I don't want her to be my mother. I don't want to see her.
You want me to talk to her first?
Would you?
Sure. But if she really is...
If you're satisfied she really is, then I'll talk to her.
Madam Baronchev, I'm Harry Kemp.
I was expecting my daughter.
I think you and I should have a few words first. Won't you come in?
My daughter is here?
Susan, yes, she's here. She asked me to see you first.
Very well. I shall come in, thank you.
May I take your coat?
No, thank you. You are the foster father.
Yes.
You want proof that I am who I say I am.
That and a couple of other things that I would like to discuss.
We will see about that. First, the proof. I have, of course, papers, birth certificate, so on, but they are in Russian. Here, you may examine them if you wish. These, of course, are photostats. If it will help, here is my name, Natasha Drusha Baronchev. Here, my husband's, Dr. Nikita Baronchev. Here, the baby's name, Katerina Semyonovna Baronchev. You will see she was 3.5 kilos, about 7 pounds, 6 ounces or so. Marriage license and so forth, so forth. You may keep them for what they are worth. When the time comes, I will offer you undeniable proof that Susan is my child.
Isn't it here now?
Not quite. What were the other things you wish to discuss?
Well, for example, why do you come back to claim Susan now? Where have you been all this time?
Where I have been is a long story and doesn't matter for the moment. Why do I come to claim Katerina? I will tell you. Because a way has opened up for me to do for my child what I have been unable to do for all these years. I can make her rich and famous. I can establish her as the unique, only person in the world that she is.
I don't quite understand. What about her father?
Dr. Baronchev is dead. But he has no place in this. He was not her father.
Then who was?
No one, Mr. Kemp. Do you know what parthenogenesis is?
Well, in a general way, but not exactly.
Well, let me give you a definition. It is the development of a living cell without fertilization.
What are you trying to say?
20 years ago, my husband was the foremost expert in Russia on cloning, the creation of a full organism from a living cell. I was very young, only 18 when I married, and Nikita was much older. I wanted a child, but he could not give me one in the ordinary way, so I begged and begged till he agreed to try to make me one. I chose a daughter, so Katerina, the child you call Susan,
was made from a single cell of my body, and I carried her inside of me till she was born, my child, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I am her, and she is me. She is me. In every way, completely. And now, I shall prove everything I have said to you.
At the moment she said these last words, Madame Baronchev removed the wide-brimmed hat she has chosen to keep wearing with a veil that had concealed her face. And Harry Kemp, absolutely dumbfounded, found himself looking at what was the identical twin of the child he had brought up for 20 years as his daughter, Susan. I shall return shortly with Act 3. As the first shock wore off, Harry Kemp could begin to see that there were faint differences. The woman Baronchev was, after all, 40 years old. Her hairstyle was a little more severe than Susan's, but it was the same rich auburn color, so hard to duplicate. There was no longer any reason to doubt Susan was her child. But the other, that was staggering, incredible, and terrifying.
Madame Baronchev, you can't mean... you're not going to tell Susan what you just told me.
Why not?
Because it's unnatural. It's an impossible burden to lay on a youngster's shoulders.
I don't understand you. She is now with me, the most special of women in the whole world.
But that's just the point. No girl of 20 wants to be that special. It's like being a freak. Good Lord, the whole idea makes me sick with fear, Madame Baronchev. Sick with fear. Doesn't it terrify you that more and more we keep interfering with the natural and produce more and more artificial things? If at last we start tampering with the life process, then it is the end of life as we know it. It's the end of everything, the ultimate anarchy.
Ridiculous. Biologists have been interfering, as you call it, with the life process since the beginning of this century. Plants first, then animals. Then my husband, over 20 years ago, with mammals, and eventually a human being. But because he worked for the government, it had to be kept very quiet. I was afraid they would use Katerina as a guinea pig. That's why I fled from Russia. They stopped my husband, but they let us go because they did not know the truth.
What happened to him?
They made an example of him because he had tried to defect. He was arrested, tried, and condemned to Siberia, lost, buried, never heard from again. After I had placed Katerina for adoption to keep her safe, I went back to Russia to try to help him. I myself was imprisoned for 15 years.
You survived them very well.
Outwardly, perhaps. When my husband died, they let me go. Since then, I have been searching for my baby. The last week, I pick up the paper, and there was her picture.
I'm sorry for you, Madame Baronchev. But I'm not going to let you tell her that. Not what you've told me.
Why?
First, I've no way of knowing if it's true.
It is true. I can tell you the whole process. First, some skin from me, and one cell isolated. Then, one of my ova. Part of the nucleus was removed, and the cell from my own body introduced. The ova was implanted inside me, and it grew full term to a child, a spontaneous baby produced wholly by me, with no father. My daughter, Mr. Kemp, not yours, not anyone's, but mine.
If it is true, even more strongly, I tell you, I don't want her to know.
You have no right to keep the truth from her. It can make her a millionaire.
And you, of course.
I want some return for the agony my life has been.
But not at Susan's expense. Not while I'm alive.
What do you mean, expense? She might want to be rich.
Not to be a freak. Now, look, she has a young man that she wants to marry. She's in love. This would ruin her plans.
Mr. Kemp, if you attempt to keep me apart from my daughter, I will go to the press. I will force the issue.
You do that and I'll kill you.
What?
Look, I'm not a violent man, but I have been a soldier, and I'm fighting for Susan's life, for her sanity. I am not going to let you tear her apart. You understand? Why can't you leave her alone?
Because I am fighting for my life and my sanity, too. Because I want some of the good things instead of the hell that I have lived through. But, I am not without some humanity. I will not push you further today. I will give you 1 week to prepare Susan, as you call her, and to come to your senses. And then I will be back with my lawyer and others. I warn you, 1 week. It's the most awful thing I've ever heard, Harry.
I couldn't ever have told Susan. I couldn't bring myself to even suggest such a horrendous possibility.
And when she comes back after a week?
Well, I have that much time at least to prove that the whole thing is false. I've got to, Sarah. We have got to keep this thing out of the papers. It would be the end of Susan and Bob Randolph's relationship. It would be the end of Susan. It would break her up.
I know it would. But, Harry, what can we do?
Now, look, I've been thinking, Sarah. Thank heavens for the Army. I think I have one chance. Jim Stein.
I know he's a good friend, but how could
Now, look,
Jim...
he came back a full colonel. Now, he was a big cheese in intelligence, but undercover. Now, for all I know, he may still be in it. I just hope he's in the country now. I'm going to call him right now while Susan's out.
I'm sorry to drag you up to Washington, Harry, old buddy. But you got your finger in a hot one.
Well, you said you might be able to help.
I did?
How?
Well, I'm not sure how much I can reveal to you.
No, you know I can button up.
Okay, buddy, here's what I'll give you. When I floated a couple of feelers about your Dr. Baronchev and his wife right after you called me, the roof fell in. In no seconds flat, I was on the carpet to know just what was my interest in Dr. Baronchev.
Why?
Because the good doctor is not dead.
What?
He's here in this country. He has been for the last 3 years.
But his wife said he'd been dead for years.
He was reported dead because he escaped from prison camp. He was never tracked down because our boys smuggled him out.
Out of Siberia? How in the...
That's something neither you and I are about to find out. Anyway, Harry, they finally got him here. And the last thing anyone wants to leak out is that we've got him.
Well, is he working on this cloning business for us?
At a guess, yes, and other biological areas.
Were you able to get to him, Jim?
Yes.
Can you get me to him?
I'm going to do better than that, old buddy. I'm going to bring him to you.
Wow. Where?
How much baggage have you got?
Just an overnight case.
Good. You check out of your hotel at 9 p.m. tonight sharp. Go up 18 at Connecticut and start walking north. You'll be picked up by a plain black sedan.
How will I recognize him?
I'll be in the front seat with the driver. You'll get in the back with the doctor.
You'll be there? Where are you taking us?
We're taking you home. And on the way, the doctor has some things to say to you, and he wants to see his wife.
Jim, I can't believe this. I mean, if he's so top secret, how are you going to smuggle him out?
Well, there are 2 reasons. When he heard about his daughter and what the wife was trying to do, he went berserk. That's one reason me and an armed guard are going along, to keep him from throttling her. The brass is allowing him to go for 2 reasons. He laid it flat on the table, Harry. If they didn't allow him to, he'd stop all experiments.
What's the other reason?
The one thing his wife must not know. He's dying, Harry. He's on borrowed time. The brass are human, too. When they found out from him what a monster this woman is and the other circumstances, they gave him this one night.
What other circumstances?
I'm going to let Dr. Baronchev tell you the whole story himself.
And she wrote and told you that your daughter was dead all those years ago?
It was the only letter I ever received from her in all my years in prison. Perhaps there were others. This one they let through because they thought if I knew my daughter was not alive, I would come back to try some of their filthy, unnatural experiments. It was because I refused to do them that they put me away to begin with.
But if she was in prison herself, how could she...
She was never in prison. She never returned to Russia. Let me explain about this woman. I was a doctor, locked in my experiments, and not very wise about women. And I was not so young, nearing 40. But she was young, 18. But make no mistake, Natasha was a woman, one of the world, by the time she was 12. We had an affair. It was very flattering, this beautiful young woman, for she was beautiful.
She still is, incredibly.
She wanted to be my wife. But what was I, a doctor of research, married to my laboratory and my experiments? What was I to do with a wife? So, since she could not get me any other way, she became pregnant.
Pregnant? You mean it's not true? Susan is not
Oh, Mr. Kemp, the girl you have brought up so lovingly as your daughter is not plastic. She is not, how shall we say, a bionic robot, a test tube simulacrum of a human being. She is what she is, by all your accounts. A happy, healthy, well-adjusted and beautiful child. Just the daughter I would have wanted.
I wish you could have been with her as she was growing up. You would have been very proud.
I am proud. Even second-hand, and only hearing. All those terrible years mourning that lost baby. If I could have only known she was alive.
We did our best, Sarah and I, but it was because of Susan who was worth it all.
I married Natasha because of that child. I was, what is the word, irked. I did not want either marriage or a child. But when Katerina, forgive me, Susan came, it was a whole new world for me. They were forcing me, urging me, threatening me then to produce this in a laboratory, asking me to create my fellow man, to fly in the face of God. I would not and I could not. I knew the consequences of refusal. I had to protect my baby. I was able to make arrangements for them to flee by leaving myself as hostage.
But didn't she have any money? Why would she have offered the baby for adoption?
With me in prison for perhaps the rest of my life. What did Natasha care for the child she had born? It had only been a means to an end. How much did you pay for her?
$10,000.
A little better than 30 pieces of silver. For enough money, Natasha would do anything.
If she wasn't in prison, what was she doing all these years?
From man to man, as long as they would support her and not tie her down. Then I suppose this smart, dishonest lawyer who saw with her a gold mine in the idea of a child made by cloning. I was dead, she thought, no possibility of argument from me. The remarkable resemblance you tell me about, the news we read today, the time seems right.
Well, how are you going to stop her?
Oh, do not be afraid. I have ways to stop her. And there are many tests, but one alone will suffice. Do you know your daughter's blood group?
My daughter?
Oh, my dear man, what claim do I have on her anymore? Do you know it?
Yes. It's type O.
And the Rh factor?
Negative.
Natasha's blood is AB, Rh positive. And my blood, here.
What is this?
A blood specimen, certified, which you can have tested. It is my blood. And it is O, Rh negative. That is proof enough without any other test that your Susan was my child and that there was no possibility she could have been cloned. Thank heaven the specter will never have to be raised for her.
You'll want to see her?
I will want to. But it is better for all that I don't. I leave her to you and your good wife, and to the boy she is eventually to marry, and to the business of making children with a man, yes, but with God's will. The other is unthinkable. The miracle of birth is too close to the Almighty for man to ever tamper with. If we are to be anything, we must be made in His image.
There's another side to the process of cloning that must not be forgotten. In the vegetable world, it has brought us many miracles in plant and grain growing that have been of untold benefit to mankind. In the field of medicine, the possibility of regrowing lost limbs, new eyes for the blind, and of duplicating vital functional organs makes cloning a worthy object. So the study continues. Where will it lead us in the end? I'll be back shortly.
I want that sinus medicine.
Headache tablet?
No, it relieves headache and congestion, internal sinus pressure, and postnasal drip. And it has added strength.
You mean added strength sign-off?
Exactly.
Added strength sign-off tablets give you pure aspirin plus 50% more sinus drainer.
To help sinus pain while you drain.
Right, and more sinus dryer for postnasal drip.
Added strength sign-off.
The sinus medicine in the bright red box. Take when needed, only as directed.
SINEOFF. Sign-off.
Susan Kemp is Susan Randolph now. More than that, she's a mother. No danger of cloning here. His name is Samuel, and he's all boy. Natasha was never seen or heard from again, and Susan was only too glad to forget a woman she had never seen. Sarah and Harry are her beloved mom and pop. Recently, Dr. Baranchev died very quietly. He never saw his daughter, but he died with her name on his lips. Her American name. Our cast included Mandel Kramer, Carol Teitel, Barbara Somers, Betsy Beard, and Ian Martin. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
That's our Strange Tale for this week. You can find more from the CBS Radio Mystery Theater at relicradio.com, where you'll also find past episodes of this show, all the other podcasts, our Shoutcast stream, everything else Relic Radio. If you'd like to help support this and all of the shows, visit donate.relicradio.com or click on the link on the website. Your support is the only way the show keeps coming every week. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. Talk to you again next Sunday with another episode of Relic Radio's Strange Tales.